listening to the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN. Here is Femi Abebefe.
Welcome to another edition of the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN. I'm your host, Femi Abebefe. As always, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Our producer, Andre Paraiso, filling in for our guy, Elliot Bowman, on the ones and twos. Elliot, enjoying some much-needed time off there. He'll be back with us later on this week here. But, Michael, I hope Christmas went well for you. It was a lot of football over the holiday weekend, a nice slate Christmas Eve, 3 games Christmas Day. How we doing after the holiday?
We're good. We're good. We ate too much. Fat guys tend to eat too much on Christmas.
I'll put my hand up.
Too many cookies. Oh, man. Those Italian cookies, you go up to Philadelphia, you buy these Italian cookies, and all of a sudden, you feel like you're just going to explode. But no, it's all good. I mean, I enjoyed it. I loved having my grandsons and granddaughter around. It's been wonderful. Everybody, had the holiday spirit. The great Bill Berman, we had enjoyed the time with him as we got to experience all his family as well. So it was wonderful. It's a great time. I mean, it is the season of perpetual hope. And may I add that I got the greatest Christmas gift of all. Greatest Christmas gift at all. It didn't happen until last night when the Ravens beat the 49ers, and I was able to go 3-0 in my Russo picks, and Mr. Mad Dog, who was already counting his winnings already, went 0-3. So I don't know if I could have had a better Christmas. I really can't.
3-0, 0-3, right back in the thick of things here, taking the lead in the Russo contest. We love to see that. We love to see that.
Yeah, he had me completely out of it. I felt bad for those people, Femi, in the Survivor with Denver. I felt so bad. That was a hard one.
That was,
especially when they got the ball back with a minute 15 to go, or like under 2 minutes after the Patriots went and didn't do anything and on 3 plays and went out. I thought for sure, they were going to kick a field goal, but unfortunately, and so there remains 4 people. I think had the Eagles last night. Yep. Yeah, right.
Yeah, they all had Philly.
Yeah, so we go on to another week.
Yeah, week 17, the contest remains here. So we'll see. I think they all have Denver available for next week if they want to go to that well. But, if they all pick the same team, then it's kind of like whatever, because it's either they're all going to win and continue to week 18 or they all lose and then they split the money. And it's, I think, like $2.3 million would be if they all end up splitting the 4 there. So congratulations to those people that have made it through that.
There's a book to be written about this. There's a book to be written about how you can navigate these terrains. Obviously it comes with tremendous luck, right? But wow. I don't know if there's a harder contest to navigate. I just don't know. It's really remarkable.
That's why we love it, though. It's why we love it. It's the contest that I think everybody you could be the sharpest person ever, the squarest person ever. We all know that it's about 95% luck and just trying to dodge those landmines. And you got to dodge 20 of them because it's 20 selections that you have to make over the course of the 18-week season. But it's a whole lot of fun there. And I do feel bad for the people on Denver.
I think Derek Stevens should give out a jacket, like Richie Aprile gave Tony. The jacket. I think they should give they should have like a Circa Survivor jacket. Like that's what they should have. Like give the people a jacket to wear, and you can walk around town. Look, I won the jacket,
Nice tan jacket there. See if he's wearing it. Love to see that there. Imagine the emotions, though, if you had Denver. You're down 23-7. You're like, oh, my God, Christmas is ruined. And then you get the 2-point conversion and the touchdowns and back-to-back drives to tie it. And you get the ball back. You're thinking, oh, I might have saved myself. Here we go. And then it's a 3-and-out with about 20 seconds off the clock on the 3-and-out there. And the New England goes down there. And the kid, who Ryland, I believe is his name, missing field goals left and right in the game, just drills a 50-plus yarder.
Killed them all year.
Yeah.
For everybody who says, and we'll get into this later, but everybody says the Patriots are a bad team. They literally could have 8 wins. If the kicker was better and they got any kind of quarterbacking play, they could easily be in this. They're good on defense. It's just that they've given away so many games. I don't know if anybody's really beaten them, but I think it's ultimately the case that they just, the kicker has been horrendous, worst kicker in the league. He can't make a goddamn extra point. He makes a 54-yarder to win the game. Think about that.
It's It's the NFL, man. It's really ridiculous.
It is the NFL.
That's what it is. But the NFL saw a big game last night. We all saw it Christmas night in Santa Clara. How about that result there? The Baltimore Ravens said they felt disrespected. Lamar said going in, I love being the underdog. 6.5-point dog. They go into the best team's building, and that's the 49ers, and they beat them 33-19. A lot of turnovers, obviously, in this game, 4 of those turnovers. But Lamar Jackson was terrific. 252 passing yards, 2 TDs, ran for 45 yards. The Ravens had it going offensively and defensively. Stand up for Mike McDonald there. Give him a kudos what he was able to do and slow down this Niners attack that had been explosive against everyone pretty much when they were healthy. Ravens get the big time win. Best record in the league, 12-3.
Well, look, they did exactly what they had to do, right? And they were able to. They gave up yards. They created turnovers. They created uncertainty in the situation. And, I thought, to me, the key to the game is, and always will be, Lamar's movement, right? When you have a quarterback like Lamar against a great defensive front, his movement slows you down. And so the Niners can't really utilize the strength of their team, which is the front, because they're so worried about him escaping. They're so worried about being in front of him. They can't pin their ears back and go, right? They cannot pin their ears back and go. And because of that, he has able to make, and they started the game off slow, but I thought once he got into the rhythm of the game, he was able to kind of get comfortable, and he made a couple plays with his feet. And once he makes plays with his feet, this 49er secondary got exposed, and the speed of him at quarterback creates a whole problem for them. Now it's one game. I think we can't overreact to one game. I think if this happens to be the Super Bowl rematch in 57 days, it'll be a different kind of game. I'm not saying the Ravens can't win it, but it'll be a different kind of game because the Ravens will be used to the speed of the 49ers, and the 49ers will be used to the speed of the Ravens. But look, Lamar as a dog is a good play. He's 84.6% as a dog. And, they gave John Harbaugh, they gave the book, and everybody gave John Harbaugh the greatest motivational element you can have, which is nobody thinks we can have a chance to win. Nobody thinks we're any good. And when you have that, you have 65 players fully focused on what the game plan is going to be. And I think that's was. And, I was on McAfee this week, Femi, and I gave out the stat about Kyle. And they looked at me like I was absolutely insane. Like, I think they wanted to go check it again. Like, no, this can't be true. Shanahan, when he goes into the game, when he's trailing by 3 or more points in the fourth quarter, he's 1-31. When he's trailing by 8 points or more in the fourth quarter, he's 0-37. And I think what we saw last night is that when they get behind their offensive line, now we know Trent Williams got hurt, the offensive line has to pass protect in a drop-back pass game. They don't really have one. It's all play action. And so the longer that game stayed close, it exposed the one area where the 49ers have always been, and Kyle has always been, deficient. They have a hard time pass protecting in a drop-back pass game.
Yeah, and they brought up that stat on the broadcast last night as well. I think a lot of people were very surprised by it and just kind of figuring out why this is the case. And you've talked about, like, the drop-back pass game isn't what other teams have there. This is a team that when they're in front, they can really call plays and put you away. But when they have to trail and go from behind, which we know, like, not many teams are good from coming from behind, but in particular, this Niners team, 0-38 now. That says a lot about what they don't want to be in, which is in a game where they have to now pass, and that's what everybody knows and is expected here in a fourth quarter. But you mentioned Lamar as a dog. How about Lamar against the NFC? 20-1 in his career against the NFC, and that kind of goes to, like, it's hard to, if you can see it on tape, but until you kind of feel Lamar's presence, you don't really know what to expect when you actually see it on the field.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I think what we complained about all last year about this Ravens' lack of passing attack, that they were just a horrible passing game. We've seen now that they have, with Todd Monken, they have a professional passing game. They can throw the football. And Lamar, for everybody who thinks he can't throw it, he's a really good quarterback. I mean, he can make a lot of throws, but because of his speed, because of his athleticism, and because he's such a danger there as a runner, he can neutralize a pass rush. Look, I've said this so many times. To beat a great quarterback, you have to win. You have to devise a pass rush scheme. It's not the coverage, it's the pass rush and how you want to fit him. Like last night, we'll get to this game later, but what the Giants did to Hurts was they just tried to force him to his left. Overload pressures coming from his coming from his left, coming from his right side that has to go to his left, he doesn't make a play. That's how you have to handle quarterbacks. And I think Lamar, it makes it very difficult because they can't run up the field. The 49ers are trained to get up the field. They want to play. They want to get on the edges and go. And when they can't do that, all of a sudden, it's a different ball game. And Lamar, once he kind of got settled in and buys some time, I mean, Moncton, they said this on the broadcast last night, that the second play is what kills you. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with Mahomes. The Mahomes doesn't beat you with the first play. He beats you with the second play when he starts moving around and he makes a play. That's what kills you, is you can't defend two plays. You can defend one, you can't defend two.
Yeah, this Ravens team, like, we've seen them in these big moments be able to rise to the occasion. I mean, get this stat here from OptaStats. It says the Ravens have 7 wins by 14-plus points this season. All of those opponents are currently above 500. It was Houston, Cleveland, Detroit, Seattle, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, and now San Francisco. No team in NFL history has had more than 5 regular season wins by 14-plus against teams that finished with a winning record. Like this is almost like the reverse Cowboys here, the Baltimore Ravens. Like, when they play the good teams and the big moments, they dominate those teams, and it's been really impressive to where they're ceiling. I don't know if from a consistency level they do it, because they can be a little Jekyll and Hyde at sometimes, losing some games, but the ceiling of this team is ceiling to be right up there with the Niners in terms of the conversation for best team in the league.
What does this tell us about the Rams? I mean, the Rams take them to overtime in a bad weather game back there. Huh? Sean McVay ran the football effectively on them. He had a great game plan, a better game plan than the 49ers had. 49ers turned the ball over. We really don't know what that game plan was. McCaffrey had 103 yards rushing. The one drive that they were able to get going, it was all run. But, what does this tell us about the Rams? Like, if you're Sean McVay today sitting in your office and you're getting ready, you're getting ready to play this week, you got to feel really good about your team because you played one of the best teams toe-to-toe, went to overtime with them.
Yeah.
You kept your quarterback protected. The Ravens didn't put any pressure really on Stafford in that game. So, I mean, I think this kind of, for me, this raises the Rams' power ranking as opposed to lowering the 49ers. The 49ers turned the ball over, tipped balls, bad interceptions. The first Kyle Hamilton one was horrible by Purdy. But for the most part, I mean, the tip ball, all that stuff. So I think that's the story. Where are we going to rank the Rams?
Yeah, the 49ers are not 14 points worse than the Baltimore Ravens. Like, games can get away from teams, and we know how that plays out over the course of 60 minutes. But on the other side, Michael, we got to have the conversation because everyone's talking about Brock Purdy. I think people are being a little bit unfair about it, but we'll discuss it next year on the GM Shuffle and get into the rest of the Christmas Day slate, as well as Christmas Eve coming up here on the other side.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN. Here is Femi Abebefe.
Last night, the Ravens defense put on a stellar performance. 5 interceptions, 4 sacks. 4 of those 5 interceptions thrown by Niners quarterback Brock Purdy, who I just thought it was just ridiculous. The conversation happening last night as things were sort of winding down almost felt like it was a jubilant celebration that Brock Purdy finally played a bad game in primetime. But what did you make of what you saw from Purdy, this Niners offense? Was it just kind of one of those bad days at the office, or was this something that the Ravens were able to find in defending this unit?
No, I don't think it was a question of defining. I think they played well. And the Niners are moving the ball in the first drive of the game. I mean, he just made a bad throw on that. He throws an interception on the corner blitz. It gets tipped straight up in the air. Then he's scrambling around on the chop block by McCaffrey on Hamilton, who, Hamilton, I was really not sure Hamilton could play anything in the NFL in terms of on the third level. And I think what you got to give the Ravens really great credit for is their ability to scheme around his talent. Because he is an in-the-box player, but he's not an in-the-box player like Jamal Adams. He's an in-the-box player that has more range. And even when he plays high, when they put him in they play him high in the red zone because they don't worry about getting beat over the top. So I thought, they've done a great job of scheming around his skill set, especially in today's game where the slot receiver in pro football today is a dead item. Because if you're an 11 and you have Hunter Renfrow in there, you have no run game. You can't run the ball. And you can't live in 11 because they just basically have a guy like Hamilton in the box, and you have no weak side run game, so you got to run the ball strong side, which they take it away. So it's kind of created a new position, which I don't know whether it's a hybrid or whatever it is, but it's like a safety linebacker, which Hamilton is, and they built the scheme around him, and you got to give them tremendous credit for that, Mike McDonald and Harbaugh and the whole staff. So I think that matched up to what San Francisco was trying to do. But look, everybody's trying to kill Purdy. Purdy had a bad day. Balls got tipped. It happens all the time. I mean, 1,000 miles away in Kansas City, the best player in the league looked like crap. I mean, he looked really bad. So there are going to be days like this. I mean, there are going to be days like this, and you got to fight through them. And I think it's a great thing for the 49ers to get this kind of wake-up call in this time of the year, because now all of a sudden, fellas, we're not invincible. We're not invincible, right? We don't have the greatest defense. I think you glean this, everybody's going to talk about Purdy. But really the concern you have to have with the 49ers are, if we block them, we can throw it on them. Like, they're not good in the back end. And we saw Arizona run for 248 yards on them the week before. Nobody took that seriously, right? Nobody took that seriously. It was just Arizona. Well, that was a kind of a game that showed you can move the ball. And I think the Ravens did the same thing. The story coming out of the last game is not Purdy sucks. The story is they're not as good defensively as we are led to believe.
But when you look at it, because obviously we don't want to overreact or anything from what we saw last night. I still think the 49ers are the best team in the NFC. I still think they're the best team in the NFL. They just had a bad game, and you got to give the Ravens their credit for going in there and winning that game. But do you think that the 49ers, their weaknesses can be exposed by teams in the NFC playoffs? Because, Philadelphia, they didn't look that great on Christmas. Dallas, they went ahead and lost once again on the road against Miami. Detroit, could they maybe exploit what San Francisco does defensively?
Yeah.
What's the kind of the matchup that might give the Niners problems in the NFC?
Well, I think, if you go back and watch the Eagle game, the Eagles were moving the ball, and they turned the ball over 3 times in the red zone, right? In the high red zone. So that hurt them. And that was a problem. And the way the Eagles are playing right now, the way their offense is playing right now, is that the 49ers defense can control it because they know Hurts is looking at that rush. And they're going to they can control Hurts more in the pocket than they could Lamar, because of they kind of have a feel for how to play Hurts. I think Dallas could play him. I worry, Dallas's defense. Dallas couldn't get a holding call on Mekhi Parsons to save their lives in the game. It was almost unbelievable. But, Dallas's problems is their offensive line when they go on the road. They're not very good. Let's be clear. Everybody wants to blame Dak. Everybody wants to blame something else. Their offensive line is really the issue there. They don't protect well on the road. The snap count, all those things go against them. So that's the weak. Every team has some liability. I think the Niners have the least amount of liability. But look, if you play the Rams in the first round, if Detroit plays right now, Detroit's the 3 seed, right? I think they're the 3 seed.
Yep.
And they would play the Rams in the first game. What do you think the line is? What do you think the Rams are going to be going back into Detroit? They're probably going to be, a 3.5 point dog?
Yep.
Maybe 4.5. I don't know. You got to believe the Rams are going to move the ball on them, because the Rams can score. The Rams can move it. And I think Raheem Morris has done a great job defensively. And McVay, look, I think the Rams can't win 3 in a row, but they can win single elimination one game.
Yeah, which makes them a really dangerous team there. We all want that Rams-Lions playoff game. That's the storylines write themselves. The storyline of the MVP was big, though, after last night, because obviously it was with McCaffrey and Purdy and Lamar on the field. Everybody wanted to know who the MVP was. Is Lamar your MVP with 2 weeks to go in the regular season?
Well, look, he played well last night. I don't think it even was his best game, but I thought he played well. Yeah, to me, I never was in the McCaffrey train, because to me, McCaffrey is always going to be the luxury item to the offense, right? And, you want to kill Purdy for what happened last night? Okay, that's fine. Then give it to Lamar. But I would say, to me, I would say that in a big game, Purdy, they didn't play well. You can't deny that. I would say Lamar has to be the MVP at this point. Now we got he's got Miami coming into town.
Yeah.
That's another situation where he's got a chance to, against a very good Vic Fangio coach defense, to see how he plays. If he plays well and they beat Miami, then I think it's a lock, yes.
Yeah, he's definitely in the driver's seat. We'll see if he can finish the job with 2 weeks left to go here. We thought Kansas City was in the driver's seat to win the AFC West, and maybe they'll ultimately win the division here, but it's gone from bad to worse for the Chiefs. They lose as an 11-point favorite at home on Christmas morning to the Las Vegas Raiders, 20-14. Is this just going to be what it is for the Chiefs, and it's going to be kind of like a going out sad in the playoffs, or can this thing get turned around? Because what we saw yesterday, Michael, was alarming watching that team play offense.
I think it was beyond alarming. I mean, I think you have a little bit of a conflict here, right? The Chiefs are used to making explosive plays, and they're not used to having to grind it, right? They're used to having to be able, he runs around, makes a play, score, makes a play, score. For all the conversation about, well, this is a great offense, the offense is really predicated on making explosive plays. And now they can't. And the bigger issue for the team is the offensive line. It's horrible. I mean, it's really bad. I mean, the Raiders who don't even, I don't know what Romo was talking about, Raiders, where he was saying the Raiders have a great defensive tackles, and I have no idea what he was talking about in the game, but the Raiders, obviously Crosby's great, and Kuntz has played really well. They put Tyree Wilson inside over the guards. He gives them length in there. I mean, their front's playing much better, no question, but this Chief offensive line is atrocious. I mean, they can't block anybody. They were switching tackles. Of course, we didn't get that on the broadcast, right? They started out, they had Taylor at left tackle, then they moved him over to right tackle. They put the other kid in. Like, their tackle situation is really bad. And Mahomes is back there, and you mean nobody's open? You mean nobody's open at all? And he can't throw the ball to somebody? To me, they're broken. I mean, Kelsey, nobody's doubles Kelsey anymore. I don't know if it's because he's 34, if it's because he had the ankle injury. But, even when he caught the screen and they said, well, there's a burst, there's no burst to him. There's nothing that scares you. I mean, Epps covered him one-on-one in the red zone. It was like no problem. Now, again, give him the benefit of the doubt. It could be his injury. But this Chief offense is not going to change. To me, if I were Andy Reid, if today sitting in my office, if I'm Andy Reid, I'm saying we're going to go back old West Coast. Going to get a fullback in here. Got to get a blocking tight end. We're going to try to run Pacheco. We're going to run the ball. We're going to go play action. We're going to 20 bingo. We're going to go right back to the old school, because this stuff we got now is only going to get us beat. They're going to get eliminated in the first round. They will get eliminated in the first round. They can't beat anybody, and they're not as good on defense as we all think they are. I mean, they were sitting there saying, well, the Chiefs' defense is gassed. That's what they said on the broadcast. I looked at my son, Mick. I said, how can they be gassed? They only played 25 minutes. I mean, they didn't play. I mean, the Raiders didn't get complete a pass after the first quarter. I mean, how could they be gassed? I mean, that was a time when you went out on the field and said, okay, we're going to take this game over now. All we got to do is get 3 runs. We'll stop them, and we'll get the ball back, and we got a chance. But, they couldn't stop them. Don't tell me that. How were they gassed, Femi?
No, they weren't.
How were they freaking gassed in that game? Like, they were gassed. I mean, the Raiders, what did the Raiders in the second half? Okay, here's the Raiders' second half. Before that drive, they only had 3 first downs in the second half. And in that drive, they went 61 yards when they knew they were going to run the football. What does that tell you, right?
Can't stop the run.
You got to block Chris Jones. I get that. But I think this Chief team is really, I think they're one and done. Now, look, Mahomes is a great player, but there's not enough. I loved it after the game. Okay, after the game. That we went to the NFL Today show. I love those guys. I love my man Sims, right? And they all start talking about Mahomes is, a great quarterback can't carry the team. He needs help around him. He needs all these other things to help him. Meanwhile, Belichick can't win without Brady, because Brady did everything. Like, I love how the narrative on that is always, well, the quarterback needs some help. But then we talk about Brady, he doesn't need any help, right? Like, where's the consistency here? The fact remains is they're right. You need help. Every quarterback needs help. Even as great as you are, you need help. Mahomes needs help. He needs a better offensive line. He needs more explosive receivers. And they have to change their identity, which is really what I think they're being very stubborn on right now, is they're not who they were. And either you pivot or you're going to lose.
The offensive line, I think, is the biggest problem for me. Because last year, we talked about the pass catchers, and they had Juju Smith-Schuster last year and all that stuff, so where they maybe had a more reliable guy. But the offensive line was really good last year. It was one of the better O-lines that we saw in the league. This year, the tackles are bad. Like, Taylor's been a disaster for them
the
out there.
The guards are bad,
too.
The guards aren't any good either. I mean, Tooney's towards the end of his career. I mean, they're getting the crap beat out of them, Femi. I mean, they're terrible up front. And here's the thing, too. They have no toughness. They really are not a tough team. They're an explosive team, but they're not a tough team. They're really not. They're not want to really get in there and grab. They rather run a triple reverse to get 1 inch. Like, look, they're backed up in the red zone. What play were they running down there that they got the touchdown on by Nichols? What were they trying to do?
Pacheco at quarterback.
Great teams don't have to dick you. Great teams don't have to dick you. Great teams say, okay, here we come, MF. We're coming after your ass.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an ass kicking by the Raiders. And to put it worse, no completed passes after the first quarter. Think about that.
Unbelievable. They just ran it down their throats. Zamir White, 22 carries, 145 yards on the ground there. The Raiders improved to 7-8. Chiefs now 9-6 this season here. They can still win the division, but things aren't looking too great after that. We'll talk more about this on the other side.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN. Here is Femi Abebefe.
So the Raiders beat the Chiefs 20-14, Michael, and a lot of people are saying that interim head coach Antonio Pierce has made his case to take the interim tag off of the title and maybe be the permanent head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. And this team has played hard. They're 4-3 since he's taken over as interim head coach. Do you think he's done enough to get that permanent job?
Well, I mean, I think the team's rallied around him. There's no question about that. And, I think Pat Graham deserves a ton of credit here, too. This Raider defense has played really well. I mean, this Raider defense has, going back to even in the Miami game, they held Miami to 20 points. They turned Miami over. They have played really well. I mean, they held Minnesota to 3 points. If Antonio would have just put Garoppolo in that game, they might have won. So I think, to me, certainly if Mark Davis is going to look at this objectively, he's going to have to say, yeah, I think he has turned it around. I think he was premature in making the move because, everybody was complaining. Devontae Adams, I'm not getting the ball. He had 1 catch for 4 yards last night. Like, this Aiden O'Connell thing to me is strange. It's really kind of a strange thing because he's not very good. I mean, I hate to break the news to you. He's not very good. Like, he's a backup. It looks like a backup quarterback to me, and they won in spite of him. I mean, to me, the story has been their defense. And Zaire White, yes, last night, running the ball as hard as he did, again, proves why are we paying a running back? There it is right there. Nobody mentioned that, right? Nobody mentioned that on the broadcast. God forbid, why would we do that? All summer long, all we talked about is, you got to pay a back, got to pay a back, got to pay those backs. I mean, these backs are getting disrespected. Oh, my God, you got to pay these backs. It's some fourth-round pick from Georgia comes in and bangs 160 yards off the, okay. Well, he may not make a difference in the passing game, but he won the game for him. Same thing, right? Why would you pay a back?
We'll have a Zoom meeting.
Why would you? I mean, it's a perfect example of why you don't want to pay. I mean, there it was right for America to see on Christmas Day. So I do think Pierce deserves credit. I think. I don't think it's fair that what's his face is not getting enough credit, Pat Graham, because I think he's done a great job. He's done a great job. And but yeah, I mean, I think Mark Davis has to seriously look at this because, does he like the direction of where it's going organizationally? I thought the worst thing I saw yesterday on tape was the Jack Jones thing where he gave the kid the ball and he took it away from him. Like, to me, that was one of the worst things I've ever seen on pro sports. Like, I get sometimes where kids, where a guy turns down the autographing, which to me I think is the rudest thing of all. But that to me was that was asinine. If I were the head coach of the Raiders, I'd have fined his ass. Like, I would have fined him. Like, that to me was disgusting. And I saw it. It showed up on Twitter later. They didn't mention it on the broadcast, right?
Oh, no, the broadcast didn't talk about it. Yeah, it was. Maybe he's adding to this Raiders-Chiefs rivalry here. Jack Jones, I don't know what's going on with him. Talented player. Like, I mean, the guy's talented, but it's just something's going on there, I think, with Jack Jones. But, hey, I guess.
Well, I mean, it was what's going on when he was. That's why he's a third-round pick from Arizona. I mean, Antonio Pierce was with them. The Raiders didn't draft him. Put 2 and 2 together there. Now, they claimed they got him because they were desperate for a corner because Peters was a disaster, and he wouldn't cover or tackle anybody. So they were desperate. But, they didn't draft Jones for a reason. They knew about him. But they took him in now because they're desperate. I get that. We all do those things. But to me, that was despicable. I mean, that to me was like, are you kidding me? Like, you're going to show that kid the ball and then take it away from him? I don't give a shit if the kid's a Chief fan or not. Like, you got to have a little bit more dignity than that. You got to have a little bit of respect for those people that sit there on Christmas Day and watch you play.
He was a 5-star recruit out of high school, wasn't he, Jack Jones? And then he bounced around in college.
Look, the kid's talented.
Yeah.
Look, but obviously the kid, the kid took a gun to the airport thinking he was going to get through security without a license. Like, seriously. Like, you're talking about, are we sure we know what we're doing here?
Oh, that's always.
But besides that, just watching him play, really a good player. It's 2 weeks in a row he's hit a pick six, right?
The one against the Chargers was unbelievable. The one-handed pick.
He saw that bubble coming and he banged it. Look, I'm talking about that act that he had on the sideline. To me, was really bad. Like, that's everything pro athletes shouldn't do.
Let's spend a couple minutes here on Giants-Eagles. Philadelphia gets the 33-25 win. Heard a lot of boo birds on Christmas Day because, hey, it's Philly. As the team was looking a little herky-jerky offensively. Looked like they were going to go ahead and win this comfortably, 20-3 at halftime. But coming out of that second half, they get the fumble on the kick return. Giants then score the touchdown. Then things get a little strange. Giants go from DeVito to Tyrod Taylor. Had they started Tyrod Taylor, maybe they win the game. Who knows what happens there? But Philadelphia, they won the game, but once again, kind of left you wanting a little bit more.
I mean, look, the Giants, I don't know how long this DeVito thing's going to continue. Like, at some point, like, I know it's a nice story in New York, and I love the kid. He's Italian, all that stuff. He's not an NFL quarterback. We've been saying that for 3 weeks. Like, I don't know what Dayball's thinking. I mean, Tyrod Taylor's sitting there saying, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Against this secondary, I could have probably caught him up. I mean, seriously, are you kidding me? The guy holds the ball. He's going to get sacked. He can't make a throw. No, he didn't get some help. He had some drops. I get that. But, look, the Eagles aren't right either. I don't think the Eagles, like, walking out of that stadium, do you think the Eagles have improved defensively? I don't think so. I don't think so. And, they keep giving the game away. They got 465 yards of offense. That should have been, if you took the Eagles and laid the points, you had the right handicap. I think that was the right handicap. It was the right handicap. And even though Tyrod came back in, it's 20-3 at the half. It should have been 27-3 getting going. But I think the Eagles are very beatable. I don't think they fixed their problems. They got Arizona this week. I think the Eagles have deficiencies. Their defensive line isn't the same defense, especially against the run. Their run fits are horrible.
Yeah, no, it was not great from the Philadelphia Eagles. Also, I don't know what Jalen Hurts was doing at the end of the first half there when he stayed in bounds. He was lucky that they got Okereke for the delay of game penalty. I was like, did he lose track of the timeouts? What was going on there? Like, he cuts back.
He had to know he didn't have a timeout. Yeah, I mean, he had to. Like, why wouldn't he go out of like? I couldn't understand that either. They got very fortunate there, and then they turn it over to start the second half.
Yeah. It was not a great performance there from the Philadelphia Eagles, who, they're in the driver's seat in the NFC East. As long as they win these two games, home against the Cardinals, and they play the Giants in the Meadowlands to close out the year in Week 18, they'll go ahead and host in the playoffs. But I don't think many people are confident watching that team play football. How about the game in South Beach as we transition over to the Sunday slate, their Christmas Eve? The Cowboys fall to the Dolphins. Dolphins get their big win there, first of a team with above 500 record, 22-20. Shout out to Jason Sanders. 5 made field goals in the game. That was the difference there as Miami goes ahead and improves to 11-4. And if the Dolphins win their final two, Michael, they would be the AFC's #1 seed. How quickly things can kind of turn here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you have to really respect the Dolphins defensively. And I think that when you watch this Dolphin team and you watch them against they won the game up front. I mean, Dallas held them to if you'd have told me Dallas is holding them to 22 points, I said, well, Dallas got a pretty good chance to win it, right?
Yep.
But they were able, and they played the run well. They only gave up 91 yards, but look, Dallas couldn't make play. I mean, he was sacked 4 times, constantly under pressure. Right, constantly under pressure, and and they couldn't really execute when they got down the red zone. They had to settle for field goals, which is a killer. I mean, the game comes really down to that the Cowboys are 1 for 3 in the red zone. Now, in fairness, the Dolphins were 1 for 4 in the red zone. But when you lose a game like that, when you lose that kind of point difference, that's the issue. And I think this Dolphin defense, is good. I think they're hard to play. You got to block them, and Wilkins is good. Sicer's good. He's good. I mean, they're good inside, and Chubb's playing, I think, at the highest level I've seen him play, pretty much since he's been down there. I mean, Seiler's a hard guy to block. I mean, think about the Ravens cut him, and they picked him up off the waiver wire.
Yeah. It's a good pickup there with him and Wilkins inside, kind of doing things there on that defensive line there. You see Miami and like the secondary as well. Like they were missing Javon Holland in the game, but Ramsey, of course, is a difference maker back there. This Dolphins defense, I know you've been high on them ever since that game in Germany against Kansas City, saying that this second half of the season, Dolphins defense is one to watch, and they were the reason why they won the game there. Dallas felt like missed opportunities. The opening drive there, the fullback fumbles the football on the 1 yard line. Like that's just a killer that you can't have happen in a game like this. And like stuff like that ultimately makes up the difference between winning and losing the game, to where can you have confidence in Dallas heading into the postseason? Because they're going to have to win multiple road games to get to the Super Bowl. And they have been able to do that against good teams this season.
Well, I think the reason they can't is because their offensive line, they're not good enough up front. I mean, once again, Tyron Smith can't play.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw, he couldn't play. They had to move the line around. So now you're weak. I think Tyler Smith's a good player, but he's been playing guard. Now you kick him out. I think that, the guy they miss, the way Zeke's playing for Philly, for New England, they miss Zeke.
They do miss him.
They do miss Zeke. I mean, for all the crap that Zeke took from everybody, I mean, Zeke's playing pretty good for New England. I mean, he doesn't have the same burst, I get that, but they miss that power. They miss that power.
Yeah, that's all I could think about, because the play before the fullback fumbled the football, Pollard had the edge there, and then he cuts back inside, and he's not able to score. I'm like, Zeke scores right there. Like, he powers his way into the end zone and scores.
Yeah, I mean, look, Pollard, let me ask you this question. What do you think Pollard's going to get in the open market? I mean, he's been featured as the featured back. He's not the same player. His yards per catch is way down from what it was last year. It was up near almost 10 last year. Now it's down to 9. Now it's down to 5 in the 5 area. He's not a power runner. He's not the lead dog. He's a really good player. But what's he going to get in the open market? What's he going to get?
I don't think he's going to get what he wants. It's a good thing that he signed that franchise tag immediately, damn near, when they tagged him with it. So smart on him to secure that money there. But I don't think he's going to get anything that's $10 million per year, multi-year. Like, that's not happening for Tony Pollard here. And maybe because he's talked about how he's like, all right, the first half of the season, I didn't really feel like myself with the ankle injury and the broken leg that he suffered in the playoffs against the Niners. But even post injury, it hasn't looked that great here for Tony Pollard. What did you make of the Tua 293, a touchdown pass? Tyreek Hill, he played, wasn't quite 100%, but he still was effective as always. 9 catches, 99 yards. This Miami offense wasn't explosive. They moved the ball 30-30, then kind of felt like they hit the wall there, but efficient enough, I guess.
Yeah, well, look, I think anytime you can force Miami to 10 or more third downs, you got a chance to win the game. They had 13. They were 6 for 13 on third down, and they were 0 for 1 on fourth down. So when you can do that and don't give them those chunk plays, you got a chance. And that's what Dallas did. They're going to get yards. They're too good. They got too many options.
Yeah, and it's still been 38 quarters since Michael Parsons has gotten a hold call. So we got that going.
It was brutal.
We got that going for us there. I don't like blaming the refs. I know a lot of Cowboys fans were mad about the refs at the end of the game there, but it's like the refs, regardless, like you should have sort of won that game there, but it's just funny to point that out for Michael Parsons. All right, we'll wrap it up on the other side.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN. Here is Femi Abebefe.
All right, let's go rapid fire, continuing our discussion with these Sunday games. And how about the Cleveland Browns, now 10-5 after they beat the Houston Texans 36-22. Joe Flacco, 368 yards, 3 TDs, a couple of interceptions, but Flacco, the downfield passing attack was humming. Amari Cooper, 11 catches, 265, 2 touchdowns, as this Cleveland team is 1 win away from clinching a playoff spot with 4 different quarterbacks throughout the season.
You know what's so remarkable about, I think Flacco should win Comeback Player of the Year. Now, look, DeMar Hamlin, if he's going to win it because he's playing, and I'm not arguing that, because the kid, it's remarkable of where he came from and all that. Yeah. However, he doesn't play a lot, but if we want to give him the award, that's great. I understand that. But Flacco, to me, because he's coming back from 2014, I mean, think about how far back he's coming back. I mean, it's back, right? I mean, look, I think what's really fascinating about watching this Browns offense with backup offensive linemen in it, with a lot of guys hurt, not having the running backs. I mean, so is the fact that how willing Kevin Stefanski is to keep calling pass plays. Like, Stefanski just doesn't give it. I mean, he was managing Watson and hoping Watson wouldn't beat him and relying on the run. Meanwhile, with Flacco, he just throws caution to the air and is like, screw it, we're going to throw it all over the lot. He may turn it over, he may make mistakes, but I don't really care. He's going to make enough big plays to offset it. I mean, think about it, Femi. He's been in there now for 4 games. And in those 4 games, they have 9 turnovers. And they're 3-1. They're 3-1. He's turned the ball over, but he's given them a passing game that they've never had before all year, including when Watson was there. I mean, he's averaging 326.8 yards per game. Watson was at 185. He was at 185. And, he's completed. He's already thrown for 1,300 yards in 4 games. Watson threw for 1,100 in 6 games. And so, look, his interception percentage is way too high. They got to try to control that. But he's already he's got more first down. He's got 1 less first down than Watson had. He's playing better than Watson. Let's face it, he's playing better than Watson. If you're sitting there and you got to be sitting there saying, wait a minute. We got to sign Flacco for next year. And are we sure Flacco's not the best quarterback on our team?
I think he is. And this is something that we like you always say, we didn't second guess this. We first guessed this. It was after that loss against the Rams. We said, this is the best their offense has looked from a passing standpoint of the whole season or the whole last 2 years that it's looked. And like Flacco's got him going.
Yeah, I mean, I got a text from somebody saying, how could you bet Joe Flacco? And I was like, well, I don't think Flacco was going to be the reason I lost. I thought, and the reason I lost that Rams bet to Russo was because their defense sucked.
Yep.
Their defense sucked on the road. But, I mean, now they have some confidence. I mean, they got the Jets Thursday night. That line's already up to 7.5 this morning. I mean, the Jets are a whole other story. I mean, the fact that they almost blew that game after they were announced to come back. Like, is anybody paying attention in New York? Is anybody, for the owner to come back and say, we're going to run this back, is anybody paying attention? And then they go out and almost get beat by one of the worst football teams in the history of football, the Washington Commanders.
I thought my bet was done. I had that +3, and then within 30 minutes of real time, I was like, oh, I guess I'm just going to lose because the Commanders are going to turn the football over. How was a disaster.
Why would you take that play? Why would you take that game? Why would you play that one?
Hey, man,
I had it as hard.
We got there. We got there by hook or crook. We got there.
I mean, the Jets are so bad. I mean, nobody says a word. How about Saleh? He came out and said, well, we could have done better after Rodgers got hurt. Oh, really? Maybe you should have thought of that. And are you sure we're really that good on defense? Are you sure we're that great on defense? I mean, because this Washington offensive line is a joke, right? I mean, it's a joke. And, I mean, look, Washington, when they put Brissett, if they would have started Brissett in the game,
they would have won.
Maybe they would have won the game. They could have won the game. Yeah. I mean, if New England had Brissett, I think New England could be a playoff team with Brissett. Think about that. I mean, Brissett's better than a lot. He's better than Gardner Minshew. He's better than a lot of these backups.
Yep. I don't know why nobody wants to have him as a start. He's you watch him come in and it's like, yeah, I get it's coming in relief, but he's much better than some of the quarterback play that we see around the league. I mean, look at the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, you don't think they could use Jacoby Brissett on that team? And,
I mean, that game was. I took that game for Russo, and it was close. I mean, Heineke tried to throw. He threw one right to the Colts, and the kid dropped it. They were trying to. They eventually wore down. I mean, the Colts' offensive line is a joke. And, I think Shane Steichen's got a real issue to have because he was told he had to keep Gus Bradley, and this defense is horrible. I mean, the defense does nothing. I mean, when they go against a good game planner, this defense, now they'll play good against the Raiders this week because the Raiders really they can't do anything offensively. But to me, this defense for the Colts isn't good enough. Just like Jacksonville's defense isn't good enough. I mean, look at Jacksonville. I mean, Baker Mayfield's on a heater. He's playing all these bad teams, and now I guess Baker Mayfield should be comeback player of the year, right?
In the discussion. He's in the discussion for it. The season that he's had 26 TDs, 8 interceptions. All they have to do is go 1-1, I think, and they pretty much win the NFC South there. And who had that before the season started?
Not me. I mean, look, I'll grant you this. He's played better than I thought he would. I'm sure if Matt Rule's watching any pro games now, he's sitting there saying, why didn't this kid play like this for me? Now, I understand he's got Evans and he's got Godwin and all that. He's playing better, and they're doing a good job of keeping the pocket clean. But right now, when you look at the 7 teams in the NFC, I think it's the right 7. Like, I don't want to see Green Bay. I mean, Big Daddy's going to, he still doesn't understand how Joe Barry has a job, even though it was Christmas. I mean, to give up 30 points to that team, like, come on. That's what his favorite line is, come on. Come on. How does he still have a job? Come on. How does he still? Like, he would tolerate LaFleur, but he can't tolerate another day. But see, this is the problem. When you have an offensive coordinator running your team, like LaFleur, they just assume that the defense is all going to go to plan. I mean, I don't want the Packers in. I don't want Atlanta in the playoffs. I don't want Minnesota, even though I think it's a good story, and I think Kevin done a great job, but I don't want them in the playoffs, right? Yeah. I think Seattle's a 7 seed. They got to play Philly, back in Philly. That'll be an interesting game. I'd love to see the Rams play Detroit. And Dallas plays Tampa. I mean, you can't get better than that for Dallas. Like, I think Dallas is perfectly aligned as the 5 seed.
Probably where they're going to be here, taking on the NFC South champion, likely to be the Buccaneers here. And I'll admit, I touched the stove one too many times, Michael, with going to the well with Nick Mullins. We survived it against Cincinnati. We were able to get that bet 3 in the hook. I took +3. I didn't learn my lesson from the week prior, and 4 interceptions later, Vikings unable to cover. But congratulations to the Lions, though. First division title in 30 years. I mean, that's a hell of a job there that they've done, 11-4, as they go ahead and will be hosting a playoff game for the first time since '93.
All week long, I keep track of the line movements and listen to, where the sharp movements coming in and who's betting. And all week it was Minnesota's getting heavy, sharp money. The pros are betting Minnesota. The pros are betting Minnesota. And I just couldn't. I just couldn't put any money on Mullen. Mullen is truly Jameis Winston. I mean, he's just going to turn the ball over. He's going to give you a play here and then turn it over. Like, he's horrendous. And he's better than Joshua Dobbs. I'm not saying that. But he won't protect the ball. And so, the one thing the backup quarterback has to do is protect the football.
He does the opposite of that. He puts the ball in harm's way. Last game here, you wanted a real quick recap here on the Patriots and the Broncos, New England. We talked about it a little bit to start the show about the survivor implications there, but Patriots win 26-23 as a 7.5-point dog there, and Denver probably kicking themselves after seeing the results that we saw Monday with the Chiefs losing. Now the Broncos 7-8.
Yeah, I mean, look, they did a great job on Russell. They made Russell, now Russell came back and made some plays late in the game, but I thought they put a lot, Christian Barmore, he was incredible.
Monster.
They couldn't block his ass. Yeah. They couldn't block him at all. And, and of course the Patriots offense was horrendous in the fourth quarter. After they scored, they went 9 plays and didn't get a first down. Then they go 7 plays, 43 in 58 seconds. The game really got lost. When they got the ball back with 1:42 to go in the game and they had to punt it at 58 seconds, they went 3 plays and 3 and out. And that cost them the game. But look, I love it now. Now everybody's mad at Belichick for winning the game. Right? All year long they're telling us how shitty Coach Bill is, right? And then without Brady, he's just somebody said to me, there's a guy that said that that Belichick is really just Zach Taylor without Brady.
Sorry,
Are you kidding me?
Jesus.
Huh?
That's
Can you imagine that?
That's terrible.
Somebody said he was Zach Taylor without. And you're commenting on football? Come on. Anyway, you think Belichick's not going to game plan and try to win a game? Come on. Look at it. Every coach knows that.
People are ridiculous. That's stupidity. Let's get to the awards, though, so we can get back into feeling good here. The best game plan of the week here. You wanted to split it with the games that we saw on Monday here with Baltimore and in Las Vegas as well.
I think Baltimore's game plan defensively by McDonald was tremendous. I think their offensive game plan was great. I think Moncton really was great in that game. And I think the Raiders' defensive game plan was outstanding. They rushed them. They created all sorts of havoc, and they frustrated the hell out of Mahomes. Mahomes is truly frustrated.
Yeah. It's bad there for Patrick Mahomes. The fraud of the week, though, the Jacksonville Jaguars, not great.
No. Look, the Jags are hurt. Now he's got the shoulder injury. He's got the ankle, the knee. Their defense stinks. They're not healthy. Look, they're fortunate they play Carolina this week, but they're not a good team. They're not a good team. If they go in, I don't see how they win a playoff game.
Jags going under the win total of 10.5. I like to see that on Christmas Eve. Then on the lamb though, how about our guy? No cutlets for Christmas this year, at least.
I mean, come on, it's time for Tommy DeVito. I mean, he's had his 15 minutes of fame. It's a great story. Yeah. I'm glad he went to the pizza place to sign for the 10K, but enough is enough. I mean, it's a professional sport, and he's just not good enough to play, unfortunately. I mean, that's just the case. I don't mean it disrespectfully, but I mean, you keep putting him out there. What does that tell you about yourself?
Not very good. Tyrod is a much better quarterback from what we saw in that second half. It is what it is.
The Chiefs' offense is broken, and if they don't change their philosophy and how they think, it ain't going to change now.
Really bad. Then if you don't know, now you know.
Well, I think that the 49ers, I think if you don't know now, the 49ers can't play from behind. I mean, it's documented. I've known it. Everybody knows it. They got to play from in front.
Whole world knows it now. 0-38 are the 49ers when they enter the fourth quarter with an 8+ point deficit there. Not very good. Hopefully they don't have to play from behind in the playoffs. Otherwise, might be a tough situation. That does it for us here on the podcast. Thank you to our producer, Andre Paraiso, filling in for our guy, Elliot Bowman. Thank you to everybody. Subscribe, rate, and review. Hope you had a happy holidays. We will be back on Thursday, so quick turnaround here for the pod. Michael, I will see you there, and we recap and preview Week 17 coming up here in the NFL.